Good afternoon, all, and thank you for creating time to join us today for this May edition of NIBAP webinar. I can see joining us on the call the MSc students of the APL Adventist Ontological Research Institute. You're welcome. Emmanuel Oposio, Kakadalen, you're welcome. Shade, Dr. Salatu Tende, Vera, Tunji, Lonjibaku, Dr. Onuja, Mr. Charles, who is still trying to join us, Josiah Ibrahim, and a special welcome to our speaker for today, Mr. Michael Manja. So we are all welcome. And once again, thank you for joining us. And before I will hand over to the speaker of today, I will kindly appeal to us to mute ourselves so that as we join in, we can hear the speaker and we'll learn through the process. And all questions will be asked after he finished with the presentation. And if you can raise your hand to ask a question, you can actually just drop it in the chat and then we'll read it out to the presenter. Thank you once again for your cooperation. And so for today, we're going to be hearing from Mr. Michael Manja. Mr. Michael Manja is an ornithologist, a science educator, coordinator at the Vital Conservation Hub Foundation, and an IUCN ambassador for Nigeria, and a growing vulture specialist. More reason why he's the one taking us today on this topic, the plight of vultures in Nigeria, conservation challenges facing Nigeria ornithologists and citizen scientists. We look forward to a very educated time on this call. And so for now, I think we have enough people joining the call. I will gladly hand over to our speaker for today, Mr. Michael Manja. You have the floor, please go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. I want to appreciate the NIBAP team and the leadership for the opportunity given to me to share with us. I want to also appreciate the director, Ablori, who I see is also here. I want to welcome all of us to this particular presentation. We are going to share a few things together. Permit me to share my screen with you. I hope you can all see it.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll be discussing the plight of vultures in Nigeria, conservation challenges facing Nigerian ornithologists and citizen scientists. The issue of vultures in Nigeria is not a new thing, just as it is in Africa and other countries worldwide. We know the importance of vultures. Don't want to overemphasize it, but just to mention a few out of many that we have. They play a lot of roles. They play a lot of roles. Sanitation of the environment. They put off stinking smells. They always clear carcasses that could cause a lot of stinking smells around within our environment. So they are very, very important there. They help in controlling diseases, especially rabies, tuberculosis, and so on. Because vultures have specific digestive system. Their stomach has acids that can kill bacteria that can cause diseases. they withstand that. A lot of other birds can take some of these things or other animals and then they can die, but vultures, no, they can kill all those bacteria. But they are susceptible to poisons. That's one thing we should know. To herders, the vultures serve as indicators of a dying animal. When animals die in the environment or in the forest, herders usually use the sight of vultures hovering to track the animals, to know where the animals are. They are anti-poaching, they serve a lot of anti-poaching surveillance, especially to national parks and so on. A lot of park managers or those working in the park usually help. They use the vulture's presence to detect presence of poachers, because when they kill an elephant, for instance, you see them all around. They have great sense of smell and eyesight. So from distance, they can be able to detect and come to that particular place. They also serve as indicators of dead bodies in the bush. There are moments that sometimes some human too may die due to one reason or the other, sometimes water flood or so on. And people will be searching for the dead body, but vultures can indicate where these people, this particular person in question is. Our vultures too, we look at the historical perspective of the vultures. We found out that Nigeria used to have a lot of vultures. When I was young, I've seen a lot of vultures around, just like many of you can testify. But today you hardly can see them. A road count of vultures in 1970s showed that 38 vultures can be found per 100 kilometers. Every 100 kilometers, you can find 38 vultures. 171 vultures in roosting or foraging sites. If you go to roosting or foraging sites, it's easy for you to see up to 171 vultures or more. Daily, you can be able to see 300 vultures and above every day. And over 1,000 vultures were reported in Sokoto. 279 vultures nests counted within a city in Nigeria, around and inside people's homes. They can even nest in people's compounds in those days. You can see them around people's habitation, many of them. But today it's not the case. Mundi carried a research and he revealed all these things. The decline of vulture in Africa and also in Nigeria is alarming. A lot of researchers carried researches and it indicated so. Africans also have declined. Ogada, which and many others carried a lot of researches. Nigeria had 7 species of vultures, according to Gora and Jimmy, 2013. That's with palm nut vulture. Most of them have been hunted and extirpated across the country, just as other researchers have shown. The declines have serious ecological and societal effects because vultures play a key role in clearing animal carcasses for the environment and controlling certain diseases, thereby helping to avoid disease outbreak, just as I've already mentioned earlier on. Research in recent years, same states of Nigeria where the research by Mundi was carried, and look at the result. I just want us to compare the result then and now. A survey of 700 kilometers in 2018, covering 6 northern states, Jigawa, Yobe, Kano, Zamfara, Sokoto, and Kebbi, revealed that only one hooded vulture was encountered. A road count of vultures across 5 states from central to eastern Nigeria in 2019 had encountered 2 hooded vultures and 3 palm nut vultures only. A repeat of same work in 2021 had a 0 encounter with vultures. You compare it to the high number of vultures back then in the 70s and 80s. This shows the extent at which our vultures have declined. In fact, our vultures have locally extinct in many communities that we used to have them. What are the causes of our vulture decline? There are a lot of causes of the vulture decline. We know that vultures don't like poison. As in the case of India, diclofenac plays a significant role in killing of vultures. In Africa, especially in South Africa, there are a lot of cases of poison, which usually kill them. There are also belief-based killings, which I think that's this is the problem we're having in Nigeria. People have been killing the vultures on the basis of belief systems, and this is impacting negatively on the vultures. So, in Nigeria, many communities have witnessed gradual disappearance and local extinction of one or more species of the vultures. So vultures, and then a lot of them have locally extinct. And the vultures we have around usually hooded vultures that we usually see. And even the hooded vultures, they have declined seriously. What are the reasons for the decline of vultures? What are the reasons for the decline of vultures? As I've started mentioning, poisoning is one of the reasons. A lot of cases of poisoning, especially in South Africa. Wind turbine killings, the blades of the wind turbine usually kill vultures when they encounter it. Threats in body parts, which are the belief-based killings, which I've mentioned earlier. Food shortage. Their food are so much, they are short, not as it used to be. Many researchers have pointed out a lot of things. We have competition animals, including man. The vultures are competing seriously. There are researches that show dogs and other bird species too competing with the vultures. Vultures, being obligate scavengers, without the meat, they find it very, very hard. So they cannot alternate between their food. And if there is competition and the food short, the vultures have no other way to survive. You can imagine a vulture having nestlings, and then the nestlings will be waiting for the adult female to bring back food, and then there is no food. What will happen to them? So these are some of the problems impacting our vultures around. Improved Medicare for domestic animals also is one of the things. In those days, the 60s, 70s, you found out that their animals, the treatment, Medicare was poor. And if an animal is sick, it more relying on chances. When it died, they put it off. The population of human was low compared to what we have now. So the vultures had a lot of food back then. But these days, no, they don't have so much as it were. Habitat change. The habitat for vultures, the logging activities going on, cutting down of tall trees that they use for nesting and so on is affecting them seriously. In Nigeria, we have this problem of law enforcement. We have the law protecting endangered species, but to implement those laws is a problem, because the people that are supposed to implement it don't care about it. Politicians, if you're talking about vultures, for them to talk about the laws that will try to protect them, they're talking about votes. Vultures cannot go on to vote, so they don't care about it. So this is one of the problems we're having. Nigerian vultures Nigeria used to have 7 species I've mentioned earlier on. It's the hooded vulture that up to now persists, and we can see even the hooded vultures, they increasingly keep decreasing. So this is the challenge we're having. The decline of vultures have affected a lot of things. It has created more space for other scavengers, such as rats and dogs, to continue their activities. And you know, rats, dogs help in spreading diseases. Vultures can feed on a carcass, and the stomach can control the level of the disease that, or bacteria that may have been exposed into the environment. But since the vultures are not in the environment anymore, these problems now are left in the hands of dogs, and the dogs and other animals can spread a lot of disease. In the case of India, nearly 50,000 people were estimated to have died because of the disappearance of the vultures. That is the impact. When there are no vultures in the environment, it does not only affect other animals, but even human life. The loss of vulture has caused the India $34 billion due to increased healthcare costs associated with rabies. You can see how the vulture is valorized. It's absent. Now comes a lot of. So now, considering Nigeria, the cause of the decline of vulture to our fragile economy will be devastating. But the problem we have is we have no empirical data linking the decline of vulture with our economy or its impact on the country. Perhaps that is one of the reasons that the politicians do not think they have seen any reason in protecting the vultures. They don't take the issue of the vultures seriously, even when most of our researches are showing that the vultures are declining. We need to see how the decline of vultures will be valorized, and we can link it with the Nigerian economy. And perhaps when we talk, we can convince some lawmakers to see how they can help also to play a significant role, not just lip service as it is now in the protection of the vultures. The vultures was upgraded, especially hooded vulture was upgraded from status of endangered to critically endangered in 2015. So it remained on that upgraded status. Sometime last year, there was an attempt to downgrade them, and it popped up again this year. In February of this year, there was a call for their status review from critically endangered back to endangered by the IUCN specialist group on vultures. You can check it on this particular site, you see. A lot of argument has been going on. A lot of researchers said it is time that the vultures should be downgraded to endangered, from critical endangered back to endangered, because in some quarters within Africa, they have seen the increase in population of the vultures. But I think West Africa, we opposed this particular move. Most African countries supported it. South Africa boasts of growing population, and it is true. Their researches recently show that the population of hooded vulture specifically is growing. It's increasing than it used to be in 2015. So they also have many vulture researchers compared to the number of researchers we have in Nigeria. South Africa has a lot of people who are into research, and they are able to point out a lot of things about the vultures. They also have extensive support for hooded vultures, and this helps their population. Perhaps that could be one of the reasons that the vulture population is increasing there. According to some South African researchers, recent surveys indicated population increase. And that's why they see, since the population is increasing, then why should the vultures, the hooded vulture, be left on the status of critically endangered? West Africa, we oppose it. We rejected the downgrading of the hooded vulture. The reason is we don't have the extra support or the captive breeding centers to help vulture population as South Africa and other African countries have. Our recent researches indicate that there is massive vulture decline owing to belief-based killings. There are a lot of factors killing our vultures, but the serious threat we have is the belief system in the country. You know, we grew up with traditional belief, and this is impacting negatively on the vultures. In West Africa, Nigeria has the highest landmass, and we don't have nationwide empirical data about their status yet. There are a lot of researches coming from different quarters of the country. In the east, some part of north central, north central, and other parts. But we don't have a holistic study of the vultures that we can talk with one accord about the status of the vultures. Even the vultures we have, we cannot say, okay, this is the estimated number or population of the vultures we have so far. We only know that our vultures are declining or have declined and have extinct locally in many communities that they used to be. But we cannot talk with certainty about their status nationwide. So how can we support the downgrading when we don't even know the population of the vultures we have? Now, what do we do? Another challenge we have is, as I mentioned, the researchers. We don't have many researchers. South Africa has this great landmass. There are 7,000 bird watchers. How about Nigeria? You can see the number of bird watchers we have, less than 500. Less than 500. So no wonder South Africa can say, okay, they have carried a lot of researches on them. They have brought a lot of idea, trying to resuscitate their population, and they have monitored them. Many things they have done, we've not yet done them here. And so we're a bit lag behind. It's a challenge to all of us, the researchers in Nigeria. I know that will take a little more time to get more people on deck. The few number of people we have, we're actually trying. Really appreciate Ablori for hatching a lot of researchers who are coming with a lot of idea and are putting good effort into the work. We'll continue to have a lot of people, more initiatives will come, and then we'll see how we can resuscitate or we can bring back the population of the vultures. What are the challenges we have with the vultures in Nigeria? As I mentioned, we know our hooded vultures are declining. We can say our vultures are declining, but we cannot talk with certainty on the status of Nigerian vultures because we don't actually know the status. Until a nationwide research is undertaken using different methods, we cannot talk with certainty. Few researchers have been collecting the data in different parts of the country I've mentioned. We don't actually know the status of the vultures because our reports are from segments of the country. There is no particular nationwide purposive assessment. We lack comprehensive empirical data on vulture status. It's just a little tautology, just to emphasize. Now, this is where our actual problem is. For Nigeria, we have a lot of challenges as researchers in the country. Filling the required research gaps is required. There are a lot of research gaps that are not yet filled in. We've carried a lot of researches trying to know the traditional based belief system are impacting negatively on the vultures. But there are other things that are left. We need to, estimating roles of belief system. We need to separate that one from habitat loss, poisoning, food shortage, or competition on the decline of vultures in the country. We know that the vultures are declining, but which of the factors play the key role? Which percentage is that particular factor playing in the decline of the vultures? Can we be able to estimate the roles of belief system, the percentage, the extent in which it's playing in the decline of the vultures? We only know that, yes, it plays a role in the decline, and we think that it plays a big role. How about habitat loss? In the this vulture decline, can we be able to extract habitat loss, the role played by habitat loss, from the one played by the belief system? How about the poison? We don't have researchers pointing out on whether poisons are impacting negatively on the vultures. Even the diclofenac that India had problem with are still in circulation in the country. You know, some people treat animals, human too, use them and all those things. But there are no researches to pin out exactly whether these poisons are impacting negatively on the vultures or not. The food shortage, we've carried some researchers to know, yes, there is food shortage. But to what extent are these food shortages impacting negatively on the population? So if we can be able to among these factors, try to separate them, try to bring out which one play which role, which one play the bigger role, followed by which one, it will be important. And that one would be a function of a lot of thinking and research. This is one thing we need to consider. Orientating Nigerians. There are a lot of orientations going on. Many people are doing a lot of orientations, winning different grants and trying. But we need a lot. We need to do a lot. Anything that has to do with belief system in Nigeria, it's high. Anything that has to do with religion in Nigeria, you find out that it's not a simple thing. When you bring it up, it's going to be a big case. So we need to put up more orientations in the country. We have large landmass, few researchers, and we have large population, over 200 million people to be able to orientate. How can we orientate them on this? Setting vulture restaurants, though that one too can have its own, before you set it, you need to consider what are the likely things that may also impact negatively on the vultures when we set this particular thing. Lest we set a thing that the vultures are poisoned through it. But this is something that is done in most of these African countries. And then it works, especially in their national parks. We can emulate them, and it can work in the country. We don't have a particular place where we can say, okay, there is a vulture restaurant here. Since we know that their food have shot, we need to augment for their food. This will help also. One key thing we don't have is rehabilitation centers for vultures and other birds. You find out that when a bird is injured, or you found a bird that is almost dying, you're thinking of supporting it. Being an ornithologist, you're thinking of maybe there should be a center that you can take it where they can be properly taken care of. But we don't have it. We're trying to manage some of these veterinary doctors and so on, but they don't have a specific conservation, place to take care of vultures or other birds specifically, but they are trying to apply their knowledge in trying to see they take care of it. But how many people have taken this to the vet doctors even? So I'm thinking that if we have specific places where vultures can be rehabilitated, it will help their population. There are moments in the field you come across vultures that were injured, trapped, and perhaps escaped, and you're thinking that you need to do something. You try to bring out a lot of things, but you couldn't. There are no centers. There are no facilities to support it. Other countries have it. We don't have it in Nigeria. We need to think out of the box to see how we can have a center that if there's anything, you can just take the bird there, take care of it there. So we also have the challenge of averting the use of dangerous chemicals in farms and animal treatments. People are using chemicals more than ever before in the farms and sometimes in treatment of animals. There are some of the chemicals that we know are dangerous to birds and the vultures. How do we avert the use of those chemicals in Nigerian farms? Perhaps there are other ones that can substitute for those dangerous chemicals they are using, which is inimical to well-being of vultures. We can suggest those ones as alternative, and they still work effectively. So this one also is a role in the orientation, which we have all to play. Pushing for law implementation against endangered species. If you check the Nigerian law protecting vultures, you find out that most of the laws statements are outdated. Since the First Republic, and this, we are still using it. Things have changed a lot to the 21st century, but most of those things are not yet changed. The lawmakers may not be seeing it. It's our role to write bills, write bills, send to them, guide them, give them orientation, let them understand. There are some that have the keenness for animals. They can be able to see how they can do to push it. We need to push. In fact, sometimes even if it involves, we write petitions to coerce them to do what they need to do. It's all right. There are moments that when you try the simplest way, if it doesn't work, you try the harder way and you see whether it will work. If it works fine, we continue to try it that way. So this one is a challenge on our table. Lack of empirical data on valorization of specific impacts of vultures decline in Nigeria. The truth is, we've not valorized the vultures we have. What is the value of the vulture? Put it in monetary terms. Decline of one vulture, what will it cost to the Nigerian economy? If we have two vultures, what will it benefit the Nigerian economy or the health sector? We've been citing other people who have valorized their own, like I cited that of the India. They know it, that because of the decline of vultures, how many number of people died? And the vultures contributed so amount of dollars into the economy. But Nigeria, we don't have it. We are unable to valorize it. We've been carrying some researches, but no one has ever carried a research, try to valorize the decline of vultures linked to the status we have in the country. So this is a challenge. If we can be able to ascertain the value of the vultures, perhaps the politician will see reason to help in conserving them or protecting them. It's very, very important. Lack of empirical data on, estimating impact of conservation projects on vultures population. We've been carrying a lot of conservation projects on vultures. I've checked through different bodies providing grants to Africa. I've seen that Nigeria, many Nigerians won different grants, and they have done a lot of orientation, a lot of things on vultures. But what is the estimated impact of such conservation projects on the vulture population? Are our projects really impactful on their population? We've not yet ascertained it. Estimating the impact will help a lot, so you know how far we've gone. If we make some effort, let's see what the effort has yielded. Otherwise, we'll be doing a lot of things just blindly. We don't know whether there's progress or there's no progress. If it doesn't work this way, so we can change. So it's very important to see how we can do it. We also need to encourage the government to link research outcomes with national policies and environmental interventions. In Nigeria, we all know it, that most of our university researches end up on the shelf in the libraries for citations or other things. But really, we don't augment them into the reality on ground in the country. We need to encourage the government or the lawmakers. We need to start it that way to see that the outcomes of researches are implemented. For instance, in Nigeria, a lot of researchers pointed that the vultures are declining. What is the government doing about it? There are a lot of these developed countries that every research matters a lot. That's why they take it serious. When it point out a particular thing, they use it. And that's why the country is progressing and everywhere is taken care of. But in our country, the reverse is the case. At the end, the International Union for Conservation of Nature, IUCN, concluded on not reviewing or downgrading the status of the hooded vultures at the moment. So, because of a lot of argument put up by West Africa, including Nigeria. Nigerian landmass is one of the key things that is to be considered in West Africa. If we have the vultures and we don't even know the status of the vultures, and then if a particular decision is taken blindly, it will affect them. So it's a challenge for us to wake up and open up the gap about the status of the vultures. So it can help people national or internationally to take decision on the vultures. Because of outlawry, as I mentioned, human training success, researchers and experts, hence Africa expects us to talk with facts and certainty. This is a challenge to us. We need to be talking with facts and certainty. It's high time we shift slightly from emphasizing theories to see how we can bring the reality empirically. This will help a lot. Vulture studies outcome in Nigeria will significantly affect the knowledge of vulture studies in West Africa, owing to what I've mentioned earlier on. This is a call to all researchers and vulture enthusiasts in the country. Research is being planned for a nationwide survey of hooded vultures and other vultures in Nigeria. Though we know that NIBAP has been collecting data on these vultures since the inception, but more is needed so we can be able to check through different angles. All hands are needed on deck for a nationwide survey success. It's one of the things that we need to be involved in. We should purposely locate vulture hubs and foraging or roosting sites and report their position and number through NIBAP software. Nigerian Bird Atlas project is a software. We all know about it. We need to help. We need to also play a significant role in that. Some pictures with locations which will be sent to the NIBAP's email or to any of the officials can help also. Apart from the research we may carry, we may need some pictures also. Maybe if you can, we have Android phones and snap some pictures also to serve as evidence, or we can use it sometimes. This can also help. Now, at the moment, we have a lot of problems we know we have in the country about the vulture conservation. Where do we start? What should we do? We need to participate at the moment. All of us, we need more hands on deck for the research. To check the vultures, locate them purposely, not just by mere encounter, just accidental encounter. Let us, if you hear this is where vultures are found, try to go there, to investigate, to check, to view, take the picture if possible, lock it in through the software. Nigerian Bird Atlas has been on for a long time, but really the participation, though there are a lot of campaign for more hands, but consistency matters a lot. We have only fewer researchers that are consistent on this particular one. Most of us are found wanting in one way or the other. We need to also participate. This is a plea for involvement. We should all be involved in the nationwide vulture survey. We should report accidental encounter using the software, as I mentioned. We should also report the purposive encounters using the software if we locate them. What should we do? This is just the software part of it. We need to be able to log in the location of the vulture, which of course we know that this particular software usually takes the location. What are the observations? This is very important for us to do. How many are seen? We need to log it in. So this will also help. We should be specific, not just logging, okay, we've seen it. How many numbers have we seen? Count. How many of them? Is it 3? Is it 2? If you've seen a vulture, maybe you've seen 5. Try to also log in, these are the number I've seen. It will help a lot in the data collection. Apart from that, if you can be able to identify whether it is an adult or a juvenile, it will also help. But if you couldn't do that, there's no problem. Don't worry about it. But we can all learn how to identify them, the vulture identification. It will help. If we can be able to identify those ones, then at the end, the data we'll be collecting will be helpful in trying to analyze different things about the vultures we have. Most of the sites, if there are nests, we can, the software make provision for that. We can check in, okay, we've seen the nests. How many of the nests? The nest count, as we can see here. So this is very important. Some of us have encountered the vulture nest. You can locate it, put in the location, and put in the count. It will help. Most for the habitat and activity, what are they doing? The software make provision for that one. Where are they? Where did you see it? What are they doing? Is it in flight? What happens? Where are they exactly? So it's very important. We can log in all this data. It will help. I've mentioned this and I still want to reiterate on it. We can also take pictures of the vulture scene if you could. If you've seen them, take the pictures. Maybe the NAVAP officials can send an email that somehow we can be able to send these pictures, and the location will help. Conclusion. In our hands now lies not only our own future, but that of all other living creatures with whom we share the earth. That's by David Attenborough from the documentary series Life on Earth. Please, let's do it together. We need all of us. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Michael, for taking us through this very educative and challenging presentation. I want to believe that all of us on this call have learned something about the vultures today. And very importantly, the thing is, we've seen how the whole thing is playing out. And from West Africa, we really have a big challenge. Apart from educating the people, we need researchers and manpower on the ground. And so before I go any further, I will give us this time to throw our question directly to the presenter. But then as we are getting ready with our questions, I've noticed that there's some questions in the chat box. So Mr. Michael Manja, thank you once again. You can stop the sharing of your slide. Okay, thank you so much. And so I will go on with the first question here. And the first question is, how would you undertake a nationwide surveillance on vultures or other species in the present state of insecurity in Nigeria?
Thank you. Shall I go ahead to answer it?
Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. It's a very important question. The truth is, we know that we have a lot of serious challenge with security in the country. But we know that we have different people in different states nationwide. We're thinking if we use this software, even if we cannot be able to carry maybe road count or other methods of vulture survey, this software, if we intensify opposite actions, we can be able to at least reach somewhere. In Borno, even we may have some people who are there, can be able to do one or two things. In other Eastern countries, states, we have, North, we have, and so on. So this is very important if we all try to lock in the number of vultures purposefully, not just by mere chance encounter, as we used to perhaps do. Though I know that there are some few people who have been carrying the purposive research or survey of the vultures, to go and check it out, log it in, and send. Is very important. So if all of us will be doing it, it's going to be all right. As we pray for the better security to the nation, we already have some hands in different nooks and crannies, so we can at least make some more effort in that. It will help. Thank you so much.
Okay, so I hope the person asking this question is satisfied. If you're not, you can still go ahead and ask the question again, maybe in a way that the presenter would understand better. But then I'll go on to the next question in the chat, and it's saying, what is the value of vulture in the outdated laws in Nigeria? Do we have an idea?
The value?
Yes, the value of vultures in the outdated laws in Nigeria.
I was fortunate to just check the law on the reprimand for anybody who kills an endangered species. They didn't mention specifically its vultures and so on. In those days, the vulture was in abundance, so they didn't have specific things on that one. But to be specific on the values in the law, especially in relation to vultures, truly I didn't come across anything like that. So, thank you.
Okay, so that's to say we still have more challenges because we need to be specific to the level of the species that we are focused on, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the next question is, since some species of vultures are declining in the country, can they be reintroduced into the environment?
Thank you so much. This is a very important question. That's why we said we need other vulture rehabilitation centers that can help in one way or the other. We already knew the kind of the species of vultures we had, and they found this place the country very good for them. They were thriving, they were doing good. And we all know the challenges they face before most of them are locally extinct. With time, it's left for conservationists. After researches, we can sit together and see what can we do about them. Can we be able to try to bring back the population? Maybe if it's the hooded vultures in some of the communities or other species of vultures, how do we do to bring back their population again? So reintroduction can also be all right. But I know that until we consider the challenges they are facing, and until we are done with those challenges, have we completely rated out the role that traditional belief is playing on them? We know that in Nigeria, the problem we're having is the massive killing of the vultures on the basis of tradition and the belief system. Lest we go and bring back the vultures again, reintroduce them in the environment, because back then they were thriving. But back then, there were a lot of beliefs and superstitious beliefs that help. I've encountered some communities that they said if you kill a vulture, it's a curse on you. But these particular beliefs, which we need to resuscitate, are already phasing out completely. Let's we introduce the vultures, and then the same problem we're having now, phase them out. So this will just make all our effort useless. Thank you, but it's possible to introduce them, but until we take care of the factors that are affecting them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Manja. So I will just hold on with the question in the chat because I can see two hands, two people raising up their hands. So I'll go ahead and give it to Technopova too. Please go ahead with your question. Kaka, you hold on, you go next.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope we are hearing me. Yeah. I'm Techno 2. It's registered at Techno 2, but I'm Georgina Monsat. I see the display of professionalism and knowledge on the part of the presenter. Thank you. Welcome. I would like to say this. You have on not many people watching birds or even other species that are of conservation importance. And that brings me to just how many people attended this lecture. I think we are just 15. APRORI alone has produced well over 100 practicing conservation biologists. And I do know that Eden Creation Care Initiative is here in Jos. It's also in the business of catching them young from the primary schools and from the secondary schools. So if this is so important, why are we just having 15 people attending this very important lecture? Probably we need to look at the advertisement, the popularity of the subject, and other things that can make people to attend lectures like this, understand the importance of the information that is being given, and go out there and either bird watch or look after conservation biology. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Prof. Kaka, please, you can go ahead with your question.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Michael, for a very interesting talk.
Welcome, Kaka.
I have a question here, though. So you were talking about hooded vulture, that we have seen an increasing in the South Africa population and a decreasing in West Africa population. But I was thinking, are these two populations like isolated from each other, or do they interbreed? Because I was thinking in a genetically perspective here, because if these two populations are isolated, and if we lose the West African population, that means that we must lose genetic variability that could be very important for this species to be able to adapt to a changing world with like climate change and fragmentations and so on. So my question here is, do we know anything about the genetic basis of these two populations? Have there been done any kind of research in this area?
Thank you so much, Kaka. Really, there is a research gap on this, though there were some people mentioning investigating something like that, but I've not come across any research that is undertaken on the vultures genetically to link their relationship with that of maybe other African countries and so on. Yeah, it's a very good observation. If we know their genetic makeup, we can consider maybe if we lose them out here in West Africa, maybe we bring others from other countries. But it's true, there are genetical qualities that we may lose out completely if we allow these ones to go on total extinction. So it's a challenge. We need more researchers to be able to see how, I mean, the genetic makeup of vultures, maybe comparing with other countries and so on, and see the possibilities. This will be very important. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think that's important also to be able to, they could be locally adapted as well. So if you like introduce a new species, I mean, the South African population to West Africa, they might not be adapted to that kind.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Dr. Tande's hand is up, so please, Ma, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Michael, for very educative and to some extent depressing presentation. I remember when I finished my MSc in Aplori, I did work on vultures in Yankari. And of course, during that time, we were able to record about 6 different vulture species. But sadly now, if you go to Yankari, for sure you can't even the hooded vulture that's supposed to be common is not seen. For the past years that I've been to Yankari, we don't see any vulture within Yankari. So thank you very much for this presentation. And Prof, thank you very much for your observation. And we really appreciate you making time to join us on this presentation. And the concern expressed, it's something that we think about also every now and then. You wonder why people don't tend to join, but probably we work better towards publicity, but publicity is often really done quite a lot early enough. And then few days to the presentation, you have repeated announcements so that at least people know when it's coming up. But I want to talk about Kaka's suggestion or discussion or question about genetic status of the vultures in West Africa and South Africa, if anything has been checked. I'm not sure anything has been checked. And if for any reason we need to do like translocation, which we don't hope to get to that point, we actually have several proposals that we're working on to do some sort of work on vultures within Nigeria, nationwide. And we hope that we get funding to carry out that survey. And as he has suggested, it's possible for us to do survey all over the country because we have citizen scientists now scattered all over the state of Nigeria. So we don't have to go there, but then people that are based within certain areas can help us to carry out our survey to be able to arrive at answers to the question that is bothering our minds as conservationists. Translocation, not possible, as you have said, Kaka. You know what it is, local adaptation, transfer of diseases. When you want to do genetic translocation of individuals from one place to the other, you have to take from closely individuals that are close. Like for instance, my survey on lions, I found out that the populations within Nigeria itself are different, they are distinct. The population in Kainji is different from what we have in Yankari. So if we are thinking of translocation, we cannot say, let's change lions from Yankari to Kainji. That will not work. So you choose populations that are closer. You see how far South Africa is, and you see where we are, West Africa. So it's not possible to do translocation. And hopefully, our plans are also, we hope to try to create maybe like rehabilitation center for vultures within Aplori. It's a plan that is still on the way. We are discussing it. We are taking it to a certain point. We want to see how possible it is for us to do like maybe rehabilitation, maybe if it's possible for them to reproduce maybe in captivity. That's a question that is a little bit difficult to answer because you know that when wildlife is in captivity, they sort of don't tend to reproduce easily. Well, so we have several plans on ground to see what we can do as regards the vulture survey. If at any time, for any reason, we need to transfer, bring vultures from elsewhere to this place, we have to check the populations that are closer to Nigeria than going all the way to Southern Africa. Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you, Dr. Tende. And to just briefly add to this, I heard the presenter said something about why the data from West Africa is not enough. You know, so not just about the different populations now, it's just because we don't have enough manpower and researchers on ground here in West Africa. It's not like we've not explored everything like our Southern African counterparts. So we still have that gap, and we still need to put heads together so that we'll not just be doing our researches in isolation, so that when we brought in everything together, we really find the way forward to continue to bring in something tangible to actually work with. And we're grateful to IUCN for agreeing to hold on with the statue of the hooded vulture, because we still need more data from West Africa, especially Nigeria. So please, before I still give us time with the people raising their hands, let me read another question from the chat. Please still hold on if your hand is up. So there's a question here to the presenter. You said that there are less than 500 bird watchers in Nigeria. Does it include enthusiasts or does nature lovers, or does the number consist only researchers?
Okay, thank you so much. This is a very important question. Actually, I'm referring to people who consistently watch birds. You know, even among the researchers, there are people that hardly go on to watch the birds as they should. And there are fewer people sending information or contributing to the data bank we have for the NIBAP. So that's what I mean. I'm not meaning to. If you're not an ornithologist or a trained one, and then you're contributing immensely, it's needed. And that's what we were clamoring for. We need more people, we need more hands. Other seasoned scientists, different people who can be brought on board, we need them. But people who are consistently doing this are less than 500.
Okay. Thank you so much. So another question is, I haven't heard of this software. I am here now, so I'm reading it directly. How do I get access to this software? Can I upload video recordings to this software? He has few. So this question is from Johan Arewa. So the software that you're talking about, Mr. Manja, in the presentation, that's what he's asking you.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. This software, I think if you go to Play Store, it's available there. It's Atlas, Nigerian Bird Atlas software. I think African Bird Club too. There is a bigger one there too. All of these ones can be used for that. But so far, the one we're using is the one for Nigerian Bird Atlas. If you go to the Google Play Store, you can get it. You can download it there. You can register there, or you can go to the website. You can get it there, register. So you have a number and so on. So anything that you send, anything you've seen, and then you log it in, is registered under your name as the person contributing to that data. I think, Mrs. Tenji, you can add to that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Manja. So actually the software that you show up there is the Bird Lasser. So that's the software that we use as bird watchers all over Nigeria to actually log in our record and then submit it directly to the Nigerian Bird Atlas webpage. So Mr. Johan Arewa, please, if you're on Facebook, and if you can kindly just check the Nigerian Bird Atlas group there, there is a PDF step-by-step way of how you can best use the app. But then the thing is, I'm promising that I'm going to go and get that post and then repost it so that you will see it. So kindly visit the Facebook webpage, and then you will see detail on how to use the Bird Blaster app. Thank you so much. And there's another question here. Okay, nothing for now. So Mr. Joseph, your hand was up the other time. Do you still have your question up?
Yes, so Michael, thank you for a very interesting presentation. So I wanted to know, how much do we know about how far these guys disperse? How much do they move? Because I've observed that the vultures, they are, of course, we know some certain vultures are migratory, but vultures like the hooded vulture, which are resident, I also observed that at different time of the year, there seems to be some sort of fluctuation in their population. Do they move? And if they move, how far do they move? Because that would actually help us to know the kind of threat these species are facing. So I just want to ask, do we know if they move? And during the different time of day, where do they move to? How far do they disperse?
Thank you so much. It's a very important question. I think myself, I've been trying to search to see if there are other researches that have been carried on migration or movement of vultures from one place to the other, because it's very important to monitor our vultures more. If we can be able to track them, where they go, where they roost, where they forage, it will be very important. But as it is now, I've not come across any such data or information on their movement. This will mean, I know of a lot of raptors are monitored, are tracked. Researches are going on different raptors. But for the vultures, I've not heard of any, I've not seen any. And this is a research gap, truly, we need it. Perhaps if we can catch some of the vultures, trap them, and then we tag them with geolocators or trackers, it will help a lot. It will give us the idea on how far they move, where they go, and sometimes it will help us to take decisions, to see where to protect, and where to bring other initiatives for their conservation. It will be very important. But as it is now, I have not come across any. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Mr. Manja. And for all on the call, please, do we still have more questions, or do we have any hands raised? I can see any, and then there are no more questions in the chat. But then I have one quick question for you, Mr. Manja. So you talk about making available our research findings to lawmakers or the guys involved with providing the policy. So I don't know if you have any suggestions to researchers and how they can actually share their findings with these politicians or people in charge of enforcing the law, so that we have a way forward. Is there a way that we can put out our findings?
Thank you so much. This is very important too. I know that, as I mentioned, our politicians, lawmakers, virtually all of them are politicians. Most of them don't care about what will come out of other animals. All they care is, if you bring a problem from a community, okay, how many voters do we have here? If you're talking about vultures, they cannot vote. So it's a problem. But if we've been announced, I know that there are a lot of sensitization on mass media, a lot of other things going on, but it seems like they are not hearing, listening. So if they cannot listen to it, why don't we go to door knocking and then try to sell the idea? So that would mean try to see among, if people are elected now, as Nigeria now is preparing for they can also, if we petition them sometime, this is it, this is the number of vultures declining. So we are petitioning you, will get many people to sign it. Sometimes go stop. To them, and they see it, it's a petition. The petition, by virtue of its momentum, need to be heard. So this can also help, but on a soft way, we can talk to them, as I said, just meet them, convince them, that will work. But if we're just emphasizing mass media, most of them don't listen. They don't care about it. They only care about where there is population of people, voters, what they can get, and that's all. So that's my thought. Thank you so much. Mrs. Nanchi. Hello?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, so thank you so much for everyone that make our time to join this call today. Thank you so much, Mr. Manja, for this challenging and very educative presentation. Really, in summary, the thing is, these vultures, not just talking from an ornithology point of view, but we all need these birds. You know, their importance in the ecosystem cannot be overemphasized. And the truth is, just like he made the comparison between Western Africa and Southern Africa, we need more researchers to go into this. We need to put our heads together and work together. And again, it's very important that we educate the public, because all of us are stakeholders, and we can't just go from the research point of view and then leave out the community. So it's everyone that needs to be involved or be carried along in this vulture business. So thank you, Mr. Manja, for really drawing our attention to this. And especially, I want to thank Professor Mansat for making our time to join this call. It's very, very encouraging. And for the challenging words that you've said out there. You know, we have many ornithologists, you know, many conservation biologists, but when we put out a call like this, it's really difficult to have more than 15 people joining the call, you know, but we at NIBAB, we are open to suggestions, you know, any way, any suggestion to really get people to be involved in all these teachings so that together we can work and then save our biodiversity. So for everyone that is joining this call, once again, we're saying thank you so much on behalf of NIBAB. Mr. Manja, thank you again. And on this note, we'll call it a day, and I wish everyone a pleasant evening. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well done. And bye.
Thank you, ma'am.